I stood in front of the mirror in the elevator, adjusting the collar of my blazer and smoothing a few stray strands of hair at my temple. The numbers on the control panel climbed steadily, each soft chime marking another floor past. 19, 20, 21. With every rise, I felt the weight of the years behind me pressing forward. 7 years. 7 years of early mornings, late nights, presentations rewritten until dawn, and quiet sacrifices no one ever applauded. Today wasn't just another workday. Today was the day my name became official, etched into the company's hierarchy. Senior Marketing Director at one of the most influential media firms in San Francisco. A title I hadn't chased for status, but for validation, because I knew, deep down, that I had earned it. When the elevator doors slid open, sound rushed in before I could even step out. Applause, cheers, familiar voices calling my name. My colleagues stood gathered near the entrance, smiles wide, hands clapping, eyes bright with genuine excitement. Someone shouted congratulations. Another handed me a small bouquet, and for a brief moment the world blurred as my heart hammered against my ribs. I smiled, nodded, thanked everyone, trying to hold myself steady. 7 years ago, I had walked into this building as a 25-year-old with a resume full of hope and very little else. No family connections, no shortcuts, just determination. Now, at 32, I stood here with the career I had dreamed of, a sleek apartment overlooking the Golden Gate Bridge, and a marriage I truly believed was solid. I met Noah in this building. He worked on the 16th floor as a commercial lawyer, while I was a junior marketing assistant on the 22nd. Our first encounter had been clumsy and oddly memorable. He spilled hot coffee all over my neatly stacked documents in the shared pantry, his face turning red as he apologized over and over, insisting on replacing both the papers and the coffee. 1 cup turned into lunch, lunch became routine, routine turned into long evenings talking over wine, laughter echoing between half-finished meals. A year later, we married on a quiet beach in Carmel, waves crashing softly as if sealing a promise. Noah had always been my anchor, calm, steady, supportive. He believed in me even when I doubted myself. This morning, he kissed me goodbye like he always did, his familiar cologne lingering on my shoulder. His message arrived just as the CEO handed me flowers. "Proud of you. Let's celebrate tonight." I smiled, warmth spreading through my chest. In that moment, everything felt aligned. That sense of harmony cracked slightly when Ava, my assistant, stepped into my office carrying a stack of folders. She delivered updates efficiently, then hesitated, lowering her voice. She asked if I'd met the new legal consultant yet, Claire Turner, recently transferred from New York. I shook my head, distracted. Ava mentioned how sharp she was, then, almost as an afterthought, added that she was very beautiful. The emphasis lingered. I smiled politely, brushing off the faint unease stirring inside me. It was a ridiculous thing to feel on a day like this. And yet, something subtle shifted, like a barely noticeable tremor beneath solid ground. After the board meeting, I returned to my office. Sunlight poured through the windows, catching the edges of my newly framed promotion certificate. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, there was a strange hollowness I couldn't explain. I blamed exhaustion. Work had been relentless. Noah used to tell me my ambition was a flame that never dimmed. He once convinced me not to turn down a leadership role when I felt unready, reminding me that I didn't need to shrink. We used to function like a unit. Early mornings, late nights, shared silences. We cooked together, debated TV characters, ran around Mission Dolores Lake on Sundays, hands intertwined. From the outside, our marriage looked ideal. I believed it was too. Until the small changes crept in. Compliments that lacked warmth, dinners canceled at the last minute, his phone always face down. Habits that once meant nothing began to feel heavy. I told myself it was stress, that I was imagining things, but the feeling kept returning, sharper each time. Friday night, I chose La Perry to celebrate. Noah arrived nearly 40 minutes late, distracted, phone glued to his hand. Conversation felt thin, rehearsed. When I casually asked about Claire, he froze, then brushed it off too quickly. I tested the silence. His lie didn't convince me. It confirmed what I already felt. Monday morning, driven by a restless instinct, I arrived early and waited in my car. At 7:43, a white Audi pulled in. The woman who stepped out carried confidence like armor. I knew without introduction who she was. Later, I saw her laughing with Noah in the hallway, a laugh I hadn't heard from him in months. At the marketing celebration that afternoon, Noah arrived with Claire beside him. She wore red, bold, unapologetic. Her words were polite but layered. Her smile lingered too long. From then on, I watched everything. The touches, the glances, the way he leaned towards her. That night, alone in the kitchen, I searched her name, her profile spotless, perfect, and that terrified me. The days that followed only sharpened the pattern. Late nights, short texts, excuses that sounded reasonable until stacked together. Lunch with Lisa confirmed the whispers. She offered help, not accusations, a path to clarity. I didn't know yet if I would take it. Saturday night, the house was quiet when Noah texted about dinner with a client. When he came home later, I noticed the smudge on his collar. I waited. I watched. When he showered, I picked up his phone from the desk. No lock, no barrier. And then, a miracle, no passcode. He had never set one. Maybe because he thought I'd never look, but I did. The first message popped up right on the home screen. "Claire Turner, are you home yet? I can still remember your cologne." I opened it. What I saw made my chest feel instantly hollow. An entire string of messages going back weeks. What started as playful exchanges slowly turned into sweet talk and then into photos, undeniable ones. Photos of Claire in a hotel room wearing Noah's dress shirt. A message sent at 1 a.m. "I hate having to share you, but I know you'll choose me eventually." Silently, I took screenshots of every message, every photo, every detail. I sent them to a private email and created an encrypted folder on the cloud. The call history showed it all, too. 11:14 p.m., 12:27 a.m., 2:05 a.m., most of them on nights Noah said he was working late. I placed the phone back exactly where it was, adjusted the charger to match its original position. Then I walked into the bathroom and threw up everything left in my stomach. That night, I lay motionless in bed, pretending to be fast asleep as Noah stepped out of the bathroom and slid under the covers beside me. He didn't hold me like he usually did. He didn't say goodnight. The next morning, I left the house early, lying that I had an emergency meeting. But instead of going to the office, I went to a small coffee shop tucked away in Valley, where Lisa once introduced me to a lawyer friend who specialized in high-asset divorces. The lawyer's name was Natalie Grant, around 40, with sharp eyes and a calm voice. I told her everything, my hand constantly spinning the coffee spoon. Natalie listened without interrupting, occasionally nodding. When I finished, she asked just one question. "Emma, do you want to handle this cleanly or thoroughly?" I looked up and met her eyes. "Both, but I want to do it the right way. No drama, no noise, but clear enough that nothing can be denied." Natalie smiled. "Got it. We'll start with the prenup." I nodded. We signed one. Noah insisted on it before the wedding. "Perfect. Send me a copy as soon as you can. And from now on, anything you uncover, an email, a photo, even a timestamp, store it separately and securely. Don't act yet. You only get one chance to flip the table perfectly." I stepped out of the cafe with a strange feeling, not anger or heartbreak, but a sharp focus, like I was preparing for a major campaign, the final campaign I had to win, not for pride, not for revenge, but because I deserved better, and Noah was no longer part of that future. He was just a name on a file waiting to be signed along with a list of evidence I would continue to build day by day. After meeting with Natalie, I switched into a new mode, absolute focus. I didn't cry, I didn't lash out, I didn't confront Noah or show even the slightest sign that I knew anything. Every morning, I still woke up on time, made coffee, got ready for work, and smiled at my husband as if nothing had changed. But everything had changed. He just hadn't realized it yet. At work, I remained flawlessly professional. I led the marketing team through the quarterly campaign, closed a major deal with a retail chain, and was even invited by the CEO to join a strategic expansion meeting for the Asian market. Meanwhile, Claire Turner became increasingly bold. She strutted through the halls like it was a runway, her pencil skirts growing shorter, her blouses sheer enough for the meeting room lights to reveal the outline of her undergarments. And Noah, my husband, no longer seemed interested in hiding anything. I caught them alone in a conference room laughing like they were starring in their own private comedy. Once, walking past the legal department, I saw Claire leaning over Noah's desk, her hand resting on his just long enough that most would overlook it. But I wasn't most people. I was documenting everything. I kept a small notebook in my desk drawer where I logged every time Claire entered Noah's office, every lunch break they disappeared together, every odd-timed internal email. I even hired a freelance IT assistant, someone who had worked with us during last year's security upgrade, to help me recover meeting logs Noah had accidentally deleted. Every piece of evidence, no matter how small, was saved in an encrypted cloud folder with backup copies sent to Natalie. I also began using Claire's own provocations to build my case. She seemed to enjoy pushing limits. Last week, during the company-wide meeting, Claire walked past me holding a coffee and smiled. "Congrats on the new campaign, Emma," she said, her eyes sparkling with a hint of challenge. "I've heard Noah say you're incredibly talented. He talks about you all the time." I smiled, my expression unreadable. "Thanks. I'm really glad he's found someone he works well with. You two seem to have great synergy." Claire flinched slightly, but quickly recovered. "You know, working with Noah is more interesting than I expected." I tilted my head, still smiling. "I bet, but be careful. The company has strict policies about unclear relationships in the workplace." Her smile tightened for a split second, then she walked away, her heels clicking like a retreating chess move. Exactly as I predicted, overconfident too soon. I didn't need confrontation, I just needed time and observation. They were getting careless. I caught messages flash across Noah's screen when he forgot to lock it. Things like, "I wish you were staying tonight," or "We can't keep hiding forever, can we?" Each message was a puzzle piece, and I was almost done building the picture. I sent the new materials to Natalie with a note, "We're getting close." She replied with one line, "Wait for the perfect moment to go public, don't rush." And then it arrived. An internal email went company-wide. "Next week's annual gala will be held at the Fairmont Hotel. Attendance is mandatory for all management-level staff." I stared at the announcement, then slowly smiled. The gala, where all eyes would be on the leadership, where reputations and personal images would be on full display. If they dared to go public there, then everything I'd prepared would be undeniable, and if they didn't, I still had enough evidence to force the board's hand. Either way, I would be in control. For the first time in months, I didn't feel helpless anymore. I was no longer the betrayed wife. I was the woman flipping the board, moved by calculated move, calm, smart, and not letting emotion cloud her reason. And what they didn't know was their overconfidence had handed me the key to the end. That night, the Fairmont Hotel sparkled like a scene out of a film. The grand hall was lined with red carpet, soft music floated from a live band in the corner, and the clinking of glasses mixed with laughter and congratulations painted the perfect picture of elite business society. I walked into it all wearing an emerald silk gown cinched at the waist, the train trailing each step. My hair was in a sleek updo, showing off my delicate neckline and slim shoulders, not to allure anyone, but to remind myself, I wasn't here to react, I was here to end it. Heads turned as I entered, not just for how I looked, but because of the silence that had followed me these past weeks. Everyone had heard the rumors, but no one dared to ask. I smiled, politely, nodded at each curious glance, and accepted a glass of champagne from a server. Across the room, I saw Ava and the marketing team waving me over to their table. But before I could move, a small ripple stirred through the crowd. Heads turned in unison. Someone whispered Noah's name. I turned. He appeared exactly as I expected, dashing in a perfectly tailored black tuxedo, one hand resting lightly on Claire Turner's waist. Claire wore a silver gown with a daring slit, the kind not meant for corporate events. She smiled sweetly, her red lips catching the chandelier's light. They entered like a magazine cover couple, hand in hand, unapologetic. People whispered. I heard my name scattered among the murmurs, but I didn't care because I knew it was time for their true colors to show. Noah saw me. He paused for a moment, then, as if to prove something, he leaned down and whispered into Claire's ear. She laughed, tilting her head back. And right there in front of the entire company, executives, colleagues, and me, Noah kissed her. A long kiss, long enough for people to turn away in discomfort, bold enough to turn rumors into truth. I lifted my champagne glass and tilted it ever so slightly toward them. A faint smile brushed my lips. No trembling, no tears. Noah pulled back and looked at me. His expression faltered for a second. Maybe he expected me to turn away or to leave the room, or at least look shaken. But instead, I raised my glass and gave a slight nod, as if thanking him for the gift he'd just delivered. I saw the color drain from his face, triumph slipping into uncertainty. Lisa stepped up beside me, her red dress as bold as the fire in her eyes. She leaned in and whispered, "You ready?" I set my glass on the nearest tray. More than ever. The loudspeaker announced the start of the award ceremony. We moved into the auditorium. I took my seat among the senior leadership, a position arranged in advance and part of the strategy I had carefully planned. Lisa sat beside me, while Noah and Claire were placed at a table near the very back. HR didn't assign seating at random. When my name was called for exceeding quarterly revenue targets, I stepped up to the stage, took the microphone, and looked around the room. Every eye was on me, even those two trying to pretend nothing had happened. I smiled and began my speech like a model executive. I thanked the team, the board, shared a few words about work ethic and innovation. Then I paused. My voice softened. My eyes never left Noah. I also want to thank the company for creating a transparent work environment where professional ethics are held to the highest standard. I believe that no matter what we do, integrity is non-negotiable. A few people glanced at each other. No one said a word, but I saw Noah tense up, his hands clenched on the table. Claire lowered her head, lips pressed tightly together. I ended with a line as light as air, but heavy as a hammer. And sometimes all it takes is quiet observation for the truth to reveal itself. The room erupted in applause. I stepped down from the stage, head held high, heart lighter than it had felt in a long time. Because, truthfully, the wound had already healed the moment I started planning. That night, I left the gala in a private car, the night breeze brushing past my shoulder, carrying a promise. Tomorrow, the game would change. Monday morning, the office air was unusually quiet, like the calm before a storm. I arrived earlier than usual, stepped into the elevator with a hot latte and a completely new mindset. The night before, after the gala, I had spent 3 hours at my home office, sitting in front of my laptop. I reviewed every single file one last time. Each message, every photo, voice recording, even the video of Noah and Claire kissing in the ballroom. Everything was carefully stored, clearly labeled, time-stamped, and geotagged. I opened the internal email system and drafted 3 separate messages. The first email went to Human Resources. Subject, Report of Workplace Conduct Violations. I attached all the evidence, clearly outlining the violations, including the inappropriate relationship between an in-house attorney and an employee in the same department. Actions that could lead to conflicts of interest, abuse of power, and a toxic work environment. The second email was addressed to the company's executive board. I used no emotional language. Every sentence was precise, like a professional report from a senior leader committed to the integrity and reputation of the organization. The third, and most important, went to the law firm where Noah held a senior attorney position. I clearly stated their legal representative had breached ethical standards, damaging the image of both associated organizations. I signed with my official title, Emma Wells, Senior Marketing Director. Lastly, I opened the drawer and pulled out a dark blue folder stamped with Natalie's firm's logo. Inside was the divorce petition, meticulously prepared, the prenup Noah had insisted on before our wedding. He was the most confident person signing it, but he hadn't read Clause 17.3 carefully. In the event that Party A, Noah Wells, breaches the obligation of fidelity and damages the reputation or professional standing of Party B, Emma Wells, in the workplace or professional community, all protections for Party A's individual assets will be rendered void. Natalie had chuckled when she read that clause. He set the trap and walked right into it. I looked at the clock. 7:59 a.m. I took a deep breath, moved the cursor to the Send All button. 8 a.m., all 3 emails sent simultaneously. 8:02, my phone began to buzz. A message from Lisa. The game just started. 8:15, I saw Noah walk into the office. His face was relaxed, likely still basking in the illusion of the gala. He didn't look toward me like he usually did. Claire followed a few steps behind, still wearing a smile. They barely had time to set their bags down before the intercom rang. HR summoned them both to the 12th floor. Moments later, the executive assistant, who rarely left the top floor, came down in person. Not long after, a representative from Noah's law firm showed up. Silver suit and a tense face said it all. I didn't move. I sat calmly in my office, opened the Q2 marketing strategy report, and began reviewing timelines. 10:07, my phone rang. It was Natalie. Noah's side just received the divorce notice. They're asking for a private meeting before things go public. I took a sip of coffee. We'll go through the attorneys. I have nothing to say to him personally. Exactly. And one more thing, Natalie paused. They didn't expect you to have such comprehensive evidence. The gala video sealed it. I gave a soft laugh. No one should start a war without preparing the battlefield first. That afternoon, the office was buzzing. No one spoke loudly, but everyone knew. Noah had been placed on temporary leave pending internal investigation. Claire was suspended immediately. As I left the office, the executive assistant gave me a small nod and a subtle smile. Driving out of the parking lot, the sun was dipping westward. Its golden light streamed across the windshield, as if to remind me I didn't just survive betrayal. I walked away, head high, and into a whole new path. 3 weeks after the incident, the office atmosphere had completely shifted. The whispers had stopped. Instead, a respectful silence filled the room whenever I entered a meeting. No one asked me anything about Noah or Claire. They didn't need to. Everyone knew what had happened and who had come out of the storm standing tall. Claire Turner's contract was officially terminated after a 5-hour internal hearing. The reason stated in the internal memo was a serious violation of professional ethics. HR didn't need to elaborate. The gala video said it all. The day Claire packed her things and left, I was in a meeting with a client on the upper floor, but Ava, my assistant, saw it. She later whispered it to me like sharing a secret. She wore a hat and sunglasses, but everyone knew she was scurrying.
No one said a word. No one saw her off. I simply nodded, offering no comment. I didn't need satisfaction. I just needed to witness justice at work. As for Noah, he was placed on administrative leave during the investigation. The law firm initially tried to handle it quietly, hoping the issue would blow over, but they didn't know I had already sent a complete set of evidence to the California State Bar last week. Noah was terminated for serious ethical violations, damaging the firm's image and client trust. I know he tried to reach out. The first message came 2 days after his dismissal. "Hey, can we talk? This isn't how things were supposed to end." I didn't respond. The second message came a week later, this time from his personal email. I was wrong, I know, but you went too far. You destroyed my career. I deleted it without reading the rest. The last I heard of Noah was from Lisa, a friend of hers in San Diego, spotted him working at a small law office on the outskirts, handling low-profile civil cases. He looked worn out, hair a mess, sitting in a cheap coffee shop, flipping through case files like he was trying to remember who he used to be, Lisa said, voice a mix of pity and cool detachment. I felt nothing. No more pain, no more anger, just I had survived and I had won. As for Claire, I ran into her by chance 2 weeks ago at a small diner in Oakland with Lisa. When I walked in, Claire was carrying a tray at the service counter in a gray-black uniform and a restaurant logo apron. She was almost unrecognizable. Our eyes met for a second, and I saw the flicker of embarrassment in hers. I said nothing. I didn't look away. I simply smiled. A soft smile, not smug, not mocking, just the smile of someone who had left it all behind. Claire turned quickly, avoiding eye contact. She never came near our table the rest of the evening. As we walked out, Lisa turned to me and asked, "How did it feel seeing her like that?" I shrugged. "Nothing special. Things happen as they should." Lisa laughed. "You really are a master." I just looked out at the golden lights lining the street, my heart finally still. My life now is peaceful in a way I never imagined. I moved into a new apartment in Pacific Heights, spacious, airy, and free of old memories. I no longer check my phone in the middle of the night, no more forced smiles over false words. In the mornings, I get up early, make my own coffee, listen to soft jazz, and head to the office wrapped in the quiet I never knew I needed. Sometimes I think maybe the thing that hurt me most was actually what led me to something far better. No need for revenge, no need for loud retaliation. Just take a step back, wait for the right moment, and let them get caught in the trap they set themselves. And I, as Lisa once said, just had to pull up a chair and watch the outcome. 3 months after Noah was officially removed from the company roster, I walked into the executive boardroom with a completely different mindset. For the first time in 10 years of working, I wasn't just a participant in a strategy meeting, I was the one leading it. That morning, the CEO invited me to the 24th floor, the floor usually reserved for those on the succession planning list. I thought it was about the brand expansion project into the Canadian market, but it wasn't. He handed me a black folder, smiled, and said, "We've been watching closely how you handled the recent crisis, professional, measured, and above all with strength. We believe it's time to promote you to Chief Marketing Officer." I looked at the confirmation document in front of me. No need to think twice. "Thank you, I'm ready." And I truly was ready, for a new chapter with no shadows, no sweet lies, and no more glances hidden behind frosted glass. A few weeks later, I moved into a new apartment on the 18th floor of a glass tower overlooking the San Francisco Bay. It wasn't lavishly large, but it was minimalist, elegant, and so quiet that each morning I could hear seagulls glide past the window. No more kitchen corner where I used to wait for Noah every night. No more bedroom filled with the feeling of betrayal. Everything here was new, including me. I bought a gray velvet armchair and placed it by the window, where every evening I sipped white wine, listened to my favorite playlist, and read. No rushing, no checking my phone for messages. Noah still texted once a week, like clockwork, as if fulfilling some duty to his conscience. "I miss you. I know I was wrong. Can we start over?" I didn't reply, not out of bitterness, but because I had nothing left to say. He was the one who walked away while I was still believing in us, and now no words could piece back what was already broken. Once he called. I saw his name flash on the screen, but I didn't answer. I just watched as the ringtone rang out 5 times and faded. Then I blocked the number, like closing a rotten door with nothing left to hold on to. Lisa visited one late afternoon, bringing lemon tarts from my favorite bakery in Fillmore. She stepped inside, glanced around, and let out a whistle. "Emma, too, this apartment is the perfect upgrade." I laughed, handing her a glass of wine. "Exactly, the apartment and the woman who lives in it." We sat by the window, watching the city light up. Lisa swirled her wine gently, her eyes softening after a quiet pause. "You know," she said, "I was scared you'd fall apart back then, but you didn't just get up, you walked away like you never fell." I went silent. Not because of the compliment, but because I knew Lisa meant it. I had been at the bottom of every emotion: shame, hurt, self-doubt. But from that depth, I learned how to rebuild, not through vengeance, but through growth. That night, I posted a photo of my apartment window on Instagram with the caption, "Living well is not revenge, it's freedom." Dozens of comments followed. Colleagues, friends, even old acquaintances, all sent congratulations. But what touched me most was a message from my mother. "I'm proud of you. You've been strong in a way no one could have taught you." I smiled. It was true. No one teaches you how to survive betrayal, how to stand firm when your trust collapses. But I had learned through experience. And now, sitting in my new apartment, taking the last sip of wine for the day, I realized the sweetest revenge isn't making someone else hurt. It's not hurting because of them anymore. Life isn't always fair, but how we face that unfairness defines our true worth. I once placed my trust in the wrong person, fell because of what I thought was unforgivable. But I chose to rise, to watch in silence and act when the time was right. The freedom, success, and peace I have now didn't come from revenge. They came from no longer letting the past control me. Living well is the strongest answer of all. What do you think of Emma's story and the decisions she made? Could you do the same in her situation? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to follow the channel for more powerful stories about family.